I called it. I called it from the very beginning. It was going to be Gina. I just knew it was going to be Gina. And sure enough, it's Gina. It seemed obvious because, like, in the previous loop, Gina barely said anything. Like, she was just over to the side, I'm going to make tea. And then over here, she's musing about the universe, how something out there is trying to change them. She barely ever talked in the first loop. And now suddenly in this one, she's like, I trust Yuri. What does Yuri think? I want to trust you. And then, yes, having the whole romantic, space moment. I'm like, it's going to be Gina. It just seems like it's way too obvious. But what's great? What's great about this is I still love the episode. Despite it being obvious, it wasn't the point. And I think that's a good thing for the story to do. That it's not always about picking the Gnosia. Hopefully I can say Gnosia this time. I know they say Gnosia in the Japanese. I'm going to probably still say Gnosia here now and then. But what's great is even though you know who the Gnosia is, it's good that they don't rely too heavily on that being the everything. Having to figure that out doesn't always have to be like the joy in every single one of these loops. What can be the joy is learning about the universe, which we did. We learned about Gina herself because obviously Gnosia is going to know about Gina because it has to play the role as Gina. So it's going to be able to reference what she did, what kind of person she is and everything. But additionally, yes, there's the hook here in what will the Gnosia do? You figure it out quickly, that's fine, but what will they do? That was the question mark I had. Like, I had moments where I was pausing it and going, what is going to happen? What are they going to vote for? That's the question mark too, is trying to think about what each individual person is going to vote for. That first vote, who will they vote for? Oh, ends up being Setsu. I think in the first vote, I kind of assumed it would either be Setsu or it may have been potentially Yuri himself. I actually thought this might be the one where they do end up, freezing Yuri right off the bat, and he ends up dying in that freeze, never wakes up, and thus it does still reset. But that's still a question mark there. But the one part that I had the most fun trying to figure out was what was going to happen during the warp. I was like, okay, so if it is Gina, who is Gina going to kill? And I had a question mark there. Like, they could end up killing Yuri. Like, we could have him snap back to the very beginning and go, crap, it must have killed me. Because right there, Ratio ended up revealing the big secret, which was something that I had a theory on in the first episode impressions, that this was going to change. It would have been way too simple of a story if every time he loops, it ends up being SQ every single time, and then he's just trying to figure out how to prove to people it's SQ. How can you go for an entire core with that idea? It could work if you had like different mechanics to SQ as the Gnosia, methods they use in order to cover it up. Or he thinks that he's got everybody pegged on SQ and then suddenly SQ kills the people that's going to vote for them. It could turn into something like that. But I assumed that it was going to change every single time. And technically, Ratio does reveal that whole thing. Yeah, there's multiple universes, all this kind of stuff. It's cool stuff. But anyways, let's get in the episode proper before I divulge everything. Let's start from the very beginning. The opening segment. This confirms, unfortunately, what I was hoping wouldn't be the case, but it's fine. The fact that it does turn out, seemingly, that Setsu does not know about Yuri and the whole looping thing. Which does technically make sense to what Ratio says later on, that they are dealing with multiple timelines here. And yeah, it seems to get into also with that whole idea, it seems to imply the idea of pasts are different as well. Which, again, would make sense in the idea that we could end up having the cast change. We see that in the episode. There's new people here. But I also did kind of wonder if it was going to be turning into a thing of he goes back in time more. It could still have the same amount of people left, and this is the same time frame. We have, again, 2 more votes to go. One person dies in between them. It could turn in that whole thing, where in this loop we won't have SQ, we won't have Gina. Instead, we're going to have this alien guy and this girl that's obsessed with Yuri. Anyways, in this new timeline, Setsu never had that cube, never had that ability, and thus never could pass it on to somebody and will never be able to exist if this loop ends. That's the interesting thing. It does sort of open the door to he is alone. He doesn't have an ally. He could still turn to Setsu and hopefully get something from her because it does seem like she is a trustworthy person until eventually they turn out to be a Gnosia. They could turn out to be a trustworthy person, and I can definitely see the next episode that being a great time for us to have Setsu turn on him. That way, the one single person that it seems like he can trust, that he knows he can't divulge everything to, but still get some sort of help from, ends up being that person. But we'll see. But yeah, it was interesting to see that she does not know about transcending death, doesn't know about any of this stuff, and even when he's talking about the idea of looping, doesn't seem to get it. I don't know what you're saying. I don't know that I can trust you. We're not supposed to trust people. And that does technically play into Setsu's character. No matter what, she's not going to trust him. That's what she's decided to do, and that's what she's trying to distill upon Yuri. Don't trust anyone. Very interesting, very interesting. But yeah, they leave the place and immediately get confronted by SQ, which, this is funny, because when watching this part, I'm like, please stop trying to pile on SQ. I know it's not going to be SQ. Now, I understand Yuri's perspective. He just got done being killed by SQ. And so right here, he's extremely fearful of SQ and is going to be very sus of her. But it was interesting that she knew about the amnesia, which implies to me that either the process of healing him or possibly before he was put in there to be restored, he had amnesia. Because it doesn't make sense why she immediately asks, how's your amnesia? Again, that does play into the whole idea of the whole, learning system that's supposed to be done. Maybe potentially that's supposed to cure the amnesia or any sort of impact that happened that would have caused it. I don't know. That seemed weird that she knew about that immediately when it seemed like in the previous loop, that had to be brought up to everybody before they knew about it. But despite that whole overplaying SQ as potentially the Gnosia again, I did like this because it makes sense that she immediately came out there to see them, because this time she's not a Gnosia. Last time she probably stayed there out of fear that would make it look suspicious. But this time SQ is not a Gnosia and just doesn't think about that, just runs out the door and goes to see Yuri and Setsu. It's cool to think about that kind of stuff, that there is going to be some sort of subtleties that are changing the loop in a different way, besides just changing the entire cast. But yeah, they go in there for the first meeting. Again, like I said, Gina immediately starts to jump on them and tries to help Yuri, and I'm like, that's suspicious that she's finally speaking up. She's got to be the Gnosia, whatever. They did reveal here that Ratio is from the upper echelons of the Glies fleet, and they're known for their high intelligence, which does kind of makes sense. It does seem like whenever there's something that's brought up, it does seem like he gives off a lot of intelligence, even though that does also come with the idea that it feels like they're very pompous. They're very full of themselves. And I do respect Yuri later on for bringing up the idea of the loops to Ratio, because again, you would assume if you want to get information about what to do, that'd be a person to go to. Now, Yuri does go to them for the sake of, hey, if something happens to us, please vote SQ. But it does open the door for him being able to reveal that there's people in this world that can do that kind of stuff. But anyways, as suspicions going on Yuri, eventually Setsu blurts out that they're in a relationship. We're lovers. Yeah, she done effed up. This is one of those moments where you do realize that Setsu is not a looper. Because I think if this was the Setsu from the first loop, which apparently has gone through this multiple times, they would have been much more guarded. But this Setsu is very reckless. And the idea of saying that, because yes, that brought on a lot of suspicion. Her being asexual, and then now she's saying that she's in a relationship with Yuri. Yeah, everybody's going to be suspicious of her. And yes, that's what she says later on. Yeah, I shouldn't have said that. I was trying to get us off the topic of what SQ was doing. SQ was manipulating people, and I was trying to derail that, and I made a massive mistake here saying that. It was a weird statement to make. It kind of makes me believe that Setsu was trying to quickly gain Yuri's trust, and that was also part of it, because it just completely blew up in her face. Which, yes, does make sense to why the fact that everybody votes Setsu out. Setsu's out. Anyways, during the conversation before she goes into cold sleep, he does admit to her that he's gone through this before, and that she's like, yeah, I can't really believe that if you say that out of the blue, and nobody else is going to believe you. I think what Setsu says here is very important. What she's saying here is that you need to be careful. If you just blurt this out to everybody, they're going to suspect you. The more that you speak out against people in those meetings and bring up things, you're going to bring more suspicion upon yourself. The meetings are strictly for finding the lies. That's what she's trying to instill upon him right now. You go into that meeting, you're to find lies. Don't try to call people out. Don't try to deflect, because we see how that kind of worked against Setsu's favor. And again, was sort of bringing a lot of attention to Yuri in that first meeting. Because the more attention you bring upon yourself, you're going to be spending all of your time trying to argue and deny things. But yes, she also says, don't trust anybody, and that it could be the Gnosia themselves. Before, yes, the red light turns back on. We all knew that was coming. There is always a side of me that thinks like, it would be really crazy if suddenly it's green and it's just the episode ends and it's the end of the series. They go home and they're all happy, and it turns into a completely different story. This was all just the prelude. But anyways, that's when we met up with Gina. And again, the sus levels start going up higher for Gina. The fact that, she's willing to talk to him, wants to gain his trust, believes everything he says. I'm a looper. Oh, I trust you. I believe in you. I'll vote SQ out next time. Like, yeah, okay. Yeah, we know. But yeah, like I said before, it was fine though, because we did get a little bit more into Gina herself, which does make me kind of wonder if we'll actually get her in the next loop. Now they've kind of revealed a little bit about her, that she's a space traffic controller. It seems to imply that she was from Earth, ? She said 70% of the planet was ocean. And again, she's describing Earth as this blue thing. But yeah, she seems very capable of doing the maintenance. Levy, being that she's, focused on the Gnosia, can't really operate the maintenance drone. So that's kind of a focus that she's doing, is to help out, repair the ship. And yes, they go exploring around the ship. They go in the recreational area. Immediately, Yuri sees 3D chess, and Levy gets super mad. I'm like, wait, what just happened there? It like caught me off guard, because I'm like, I think I know what it's saying there, but I'm not sure if that's what that's what it's saying. Apparently, Yuri has an idea of what 3D chess is that Levy and Gina have a different opinion of. That they believe that 3D chess is, I'm guessing, having sex. It's like so improper. This is a well-established vehicle. This ship is a vessel that is pure and proper. Okay. But yes, they end up bumping into Ratio. Ratio says that one person is getting eliminated during the warp, and that's when Yuri decides to go in there with Gina to talk to Ratio about the looping. And again, this is cool. I love the fact that he's bringing this up, and immediately Ratio starts laughing. Oh, I knew it. I knew you weren't going to believe me, but I need you to do something. I need you to vote out SQ. No, I'm not laughing because of the looping part, because that's something that's established in this world. There's life forms in this world that can do that, which does make me kind of wonder if that is the being or the life forms that was able to give Setsu this ability, which does at this point make me wonder if that life form was once on this ship, that life form gave it to Setsu and then went to cold sleep, and then Setsu's been doing it since then, which would imply to me that it was the person that was put into cold sleep before Yuri wakes up. They gave it to Setsu, and then Setsu's been repeating this one point right here over and over again. Anyways, that part is seemingly not what's funny to Ratio. What's funny to Ratio is that he believes that it is SQ, which again plays into my theory before, the idea that every single loop is not going to be the same. It is playing this out of multiple universes. Every single time you loop, it's a different timeline. And add on to that, Ratio is saying that within the laws of this realm, the past can be different as well, which again does technically make sense as to, with our next loop, we see that we have different people here as well. It's going to be different every time. And yes, the past being different does apply my theory that, yes, way back here when the incident first happened, the Gno would have infected somebody else. If they didn't have different pasts, then it's always going to be SQ every single time. So yeah, it does make sense to everything here. There's no way to know if the cat is in the box until you open it. But yeah, like I said earlier, I love this because the moment that this comes up from Ratio, and again, my mind's going, it's going to be Gina. And even afterwards, when they leave the room, Gina's like, do you not trust me anymore? And he's going, do I not trust her? No, I think I trust you. I trust you, Yuri. I'm like, it's totally Gina. But again, I love this because even though there's so much emphasis put here, and even have that, again, that little effect, which I'm assuming is Yuri's gut reaction here of this has got to be the person, this has got to be the Gnosia, I'm still questioning right here, what is Gina going to do when they're in warp sleep? What is she going to do? Is she going to kill Ratio because Ratio's revealing too much? But why? Ratio's already revealed it. Is it going to kill Yuri because now Yuri's not going to vote for SQ like she wants to? Because Yuri knows too much? Could win over more people just like they kind of won over Ratio? Question mark. I love it. And this is the stuff I eat up. This is the stuff I love. When I want to pause and figure it out before the show tells me. But yeah, it goes back to his place. SQ comes in there, tries to flirt with him again. This time, not a Gnosia. SQ wanted to come see Yuri, not because they were a Gnosia and wanted to win him over. Seemed like she actually likes Yuri, likes his eyes. This time, it wasn't a Gnosia trying to flirt for a vote. I mean, technically, SQ as a human could still want to win over Yuri for a vote. Let's not be wrong there. Let's not be wrong there. But she did say something about his eyes as she was leaving after she was rejected. Anyways, yeah, they go to warp, and then we cut over, and yep, Ratio's gone. Gina killed Ratio as they were asleep. Again, if I was Gina at this point as the Gnosia, I probably would have wanted to go after Yuri, which is kind of interesting. But again, they could believe that Ratio is not going to side with them. Again, that Ratio is the biggest threat. Not this cute little boy that's kind of fumbling around. And again, Gina probably knows Yuri's probably still going to go for SQ. But no, they go to the vote, and Yuri goes SQ. Now, okay, again, I love this, trying to figure this out. When I paused here, my brain was mostly on the idea that they were all going to choose SQ anyways. But I did have a side of me that almost believed, again, this could be a moment where they would both choose Yuri. Because again, Yuri's doing a lot of very suspicious things. Gina could believe that she's lost the control of Yuri and that Yuri will vote for her. But technically, to the mind of the Gnosia, she has a higher probability that Yuri will vote for SQ than her. And even if Yuri votes for Gina at this point, there's still a higher probability of success in the end if she just goes with that idea, if that makes sense. It's less likely that both of these two individuals are going to vote for her. But yeah, I love the little teasing that SQ does. Oh, are you regretting it? Sacrificing cute little SQ. It kind of feels like we're not going to get SQ next loop, but I kind of like her teasing when she's not a Gnosia. But yes, as SQ goes in there to get frozen, Gina says, as the Gnosia, says, hope I can see you again tomorrow. Again, she knows that he's looping. And again, I would assume that the Gnosia are aware of life forms that can loop. It does make me believe that the Gnosia is like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it again. I hope I can see you next time. But I would also argue that there's a good chance here that when Yuri loops, the world that's left behind continues on. There's nothing that's been proven so far that him looping somehow saves the crew. It could be that after Yuri dies, Gina, as the Gnosia, destroys the ship. Or, well, the ship destroys itself. But anyways, yes, we loop back to waking up. Yuri immediately jumps up. Same things said by Setsu. And they go to leave the room. And yes, they bump into two new members of the crew. Or again, swapped out members. We have an alien-looking, literally an alien-looking dude. Like generic sci-fi alien-looking dude with a big eyes, bald head and everything. And yes, some random green-haired girl that calls him Yuri-sama. That she adores him. Sus already. Sus already. I don't know. That could be too obvious. It could be too obvious. I don't know. We might get into something when it comes back. This could be somebody that actually does know Yuri. Like the two of them could have been, before all this happened, refugees together. Like they knew each other, question mark. Why they call him Sama? That's the question mark there. Because that's, again, a very high standing, a position. They're seeing Yuri as somebody special. I don't know. We'll see. But that was an interesting little introduction for them. And yeah, we got the ED, which is Ling Tosite. That was a big surprise as well. Not my favorite of Ling Tosite. I love his work. Like there's just barely any that I don't enjoy. I think it's because there was not enough female vocals. Typically, what I like about Ling Tosite is he does a nice little mixture of his vocals and then a female vocals. But yeah, that's the episode. Good stuff. Really enjoy this stuff. Like I said before, I like this. I love that even though it seems like it's obvious, there's still so much in here. There's still so many twists. And they're still technically unraveling the mechanics and the universe itself, which I do appreciate. It's not too focused on the who's the Gnosia. It's more focused on let's build this world. Let's build the mechanics. And at the same time, yeah, you can figure out who this is. But again, like I said before, I'm enjoying the moments where it's like, what is the Gnosia going to do? Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, hit the like button down below. If you like this content, you want to support the channel more, become a member of the channel. Until next time, you'll take care.